The today's agenda will be that we'll be rocket launching our event, our chapter. And after that, there will be a lightning demo on how to spin up your own free MongoDB Atlas. After that, we'll have a talk by our guest lecturer, Vinicius, on MongoDB in cloud and the security around it. And then we have a very surprising demo, fully no code, 10 minutes application development, in which we'll just show you how to use the MongoDB technologies to spin up a 10 minutes app without writing any code. And obviously we'll be having Q&A and networking along with it. So let's start. Before starting, let's just welcome you all and let's play an icebreaker. So guys, on the chat, you can introduce yourself and which part of Delhi NCR you're from, or any other city or state or country you've joined in from, and just name any favorite food and place that it's available in. So your favorite food and where are you from? Let's just get that on the chat. Great. So we have people coming in from all parts, I guess. We have from Hyderabad, we have from Delhi NCR, Chennai, Jharkhand, Kerala, and okay, I do love Pav Bhaji too, and from Pune, okay, Chhattisgarh, Assam, Kolkata, Lucknow. Oh guys, looks like we have the whole India over here, right? Faridabad, Chole Bhature, nice. Andhra Pradesh, Gorakhpur. Amazing guys, amazing. Glad to have you all of you here in this event. It's a perk having a virtual event, right? Everyone can be here at the same time rather than having a whole India-wide event, right? Great. Just a minute more, you can introduce yourself, add your favorite food, and then I'll go ahead. Okay, so we also have Vinicius over here in our event right now. He is a senior security developer in Percona, and he'll be giving us the talk on MongoDB in cloud and the security. So that is the second event. Please be waited. Great guys, so let's go ahead. And okay, so let's just first introduce what is a MongoDB user group. Who we are you can say anyone in the technological world, be it developers, students, DBAs, designers, products, analysts, CTOs, anyone who is interested to code, be in the technical world, would like to work on the MongoDB tech stack, be it with coding, without coding, using its different technologies, tools, everything. So we all are here together to form a good community and discuss everything. And why are we here? We are here to discuss projects, build a few good innovative ideas and everything, learn from each other. You can maybe share your own experiences, teach someone, obviously network, and obviously enjoy, right? So what will we do? And is it only around MongoDB? So Yes, it's mostly around MongoDB, and how you can work with MongoDB, like maybe making a Python project on MongoDB, integrating its different technical stack. There are, there are so many products that are there you can use with MongoDB, and you can share your own experiences, ideas, learnings and everything. But yes, in and around MongoDB, and how to integrate or invent a lot of things which you can power or build more using MongoDB technical stack, right? So what will we do? There will be a lot of meetups, having tech talks, lectures, hackathons, competitions, workshops, demos, or maybe hands-ons. And we'll have maybe a monthly meet or something in which we'll have labs and everything. And obviously we'll have a lot of networking events, and we'll have a lot of fun, right? So how to join us? Well, I'll pause the video here so that you can join. We have 3 forums with us. First is the Mug chapter, in which you'll have to join our chapter, in which to be a part of us, and you'll receive all the events, emails around what is happening, broadcast announcements and everything from this official Mug chapter. Then we have our Discord room. You guys can just scan the QR code, join our Discord server. We'll be having all the chat, discussions, fun, chit chat and everything over there, all the doubts and everything. And the third is the community forums. This is the official MongoDB community forums that are there. You can join them. It's not for Delhi NCR, but as a whole, MongoDB forum is there worldwide, and you can ask your questions. You can learn from each other and everything. So I'll just have this slide open for a minute or two, and you guys can actually scan and join, or maybe take a screenshot and join later. Right, so do join our Mug chapter. That is, the Mug chapter is where we'll have all the events. There'll be a different Mug chapter for every places. Till the time it's virtual, you can obviously join in if you don't want to fly in after the virtual events. But yes, do join our Mug chapter. That is the official place. And after that, please join our Discord server. We'll have all the discussions and everything going on around there. Right? I suppose everyone has done and joined on these 3 forums, or maybe just take a screenshot of this. We'll share the links on the chat also. You can have those links with them over there, right? And let's just get ahead right now. Okay, so so let's just give a small introduction to the MongoDB products. And the best way to do that is just go over to the MongoDB website and maybe just look around the products that are there, because that's the best part, right? So let's just hop over there. So as everyone knows that MongoDB is a NoSQL database. It's like a document database, and it works on BSON data. So if people who are not familiar with BSON or MongoDB, you can think of a database having JSON documents, but BSON is like a rich JSON document having other data types in it, like date time fields or GeoJSON data, or maybe decimal or floating values, or all those things. So an extensible JSON database in which every record, or you can say every row of the table, can have a different form. And yes, it's a NoSQL database, which does not mean that it does not have a schema. The correct phrase is that it is a flexible schema database. So it's up to the developers and the product developers to enforce that schema, how flexible it could be or how strict it could be. So that is there. Obviously, there are 2 types of deployments of the database. One is the community version or the enterprise version that you can download and set it up yourself on your laptops, on your servers. And the other thing is the cloud database that MongoDB provides using MongoDB Atlas. It is the fully managed cloud database that MongoDB gives. we'll see how to spin up a absolutely free MongoDB cloud database on Atlas just in a few minutes. And after that, there are various different products on the MongoDB cloud. That is Atlas Data Lake. You can think of it as a archival place. Like you can query using the same MongoDB query on the files that are on there on S3 and on the MongoDB data itself with a single query. So Atlas Search is a full text search engine that is built on top of your own database and collections. So you don't have to sync your data to different full text engines or maybe to some other stack or anywhere. That's built into this. Realm is the application development services, or you can say the serverless backend framework. Bit much more than that. It's a beauty of a product, but we'll not be deep diving into any of these. They will be coming up in our future meetups, workshops, talks, and everything. The next one is the charts, in which you can just connect your databases with a drag and drop chart interface and create your own charts, dashboards, and everything without writing any code. So that is there. And obviously you can have a community server that you can download and install on your machines or your servers. There's the enterprise version for it. And obviously there are a lot of developer tools. I'll go into this for a minute. Then we have the Compass, that is the GUI client. That is, you can say, a fully featured GUI client to use MongoDB, query MongoDB, and there are a lot of analytics, dashboards. You can explore about it. Then we have the Ops Manager, which actually performs you how to manage an on-prem database management, like how to scale, deploy, monitor, and everything. And then there are various connectors with BI solutions, Kafka, streams, everything. So there are a lot of package that goes into the whole MongoDB product technical suite. But obviously everything revolves around the central MongoDB document database, right? That is the core of the whole cloud products. So just going over to the developer tools, how you can interact with the MongoDB database. Once you have a database set up, be it on your local machine or on the Atlas, you can connect to that database using the MongoDB Compass GUI client, or you can use the MongoDB shell client, or you can use the MongoDB for VS Code client, right? So not going too much into deep, but yes, you can explore them and you can come up, right? So these are the overview of the MongoDB products. We'll obviously have proper technical discussions, workshops and talks around each one of them, in next meetups and everything. So let's go ahead. What is the best learning forums for all this MongoDB technical stacks and how to learn for them? Is the first is the official MongoDB University. Every course over there is free. I'm saying that is the best part to learn. So you'll have free courses, you can do certifications. Every course will have labs, hands-ons, and a lot of practicals and you can say quizzes and everything. You can go over there, you can learn. The second one is the developer hub, developer.mongodb.com. You can go over there. There are a lot of articles, blogs, demos, tutorials, 10 minutes tutorials, 15-minute tutorials. You can just go check it out. There are a lot of awesome things over there. The third is the documentation, official documentation. That is actually your Bible, because you'll just have to come back to that again and again. And it is awesome documentation. You will not be confused where to look. It is properly segregated, but yes, everything is in there, how to do, what to do, and what not to do. And obviously the fourth thing is the mug meetups, and that's why we are here, because apart from all this, we feel that we have to give, talks, lectures, and everything so that everyone can come up and learn together. And, there'll be proper workshops and lectures on how to do something that is a bit different, or maybe share some ideas, or some type of architecture or anything. It depends on you, right? So in the next meetups, there'll be a lot of fun, and you can also reach out to us on our Discord forums and our chapters that you might want to present your talk or lecture or anything. It's open for all, right? So that is there. And now let's just begin with our first lightning demo that Ashutosh will be giving us on the MongoDB Atlas, and how to spin up your Atlas in just a few seconds, fully free. Yeah. So
Am I audible? Can you hear me?
yeah, Bhaskar.
Okay, great. Hey everyone, my name is Astosh and I'm a freelance technical writer with publications like DigitalOcean, LogRocket, Twilio, etc. Enough about me. In this session, we will deploy a cluster from scratch in just a few minutes. So as Shrey said in his introduction, that you have two ways to deploy MongoDB, either through a community or enterprise edition on your local machine, or using MongoDB Atlas. I personally don't like installing MongoDB on my local machine on my virtual servers and configuring it every time I have to create an application. So how to resolve it? So MongoDB Atlas is the answer. MongoDB Atlas is a database as a service, fully managed database on cloud, meaning you can have a MongoDB instance running on cloud within a minute without any uh, manual configuration. So let's get started. First, you need to create. I'll just start sharing my screen. Uh, can you see my screen? Share. Share. Can you see my screen?
We are able to see your screen. Go ahead.
Awesome. So the first step is to head over to mongodb.com and click on try free and create a free account on MongoDB. The best part about it is that you don't have to use any credit card. Like it's start free with no credit card. What can be more awesome than that? After creating an account, you will be redirected to a dashboard similar to this where you will be asked to create a cluster. So click on build a cluster. As you can see here, you have three options: dedicated multi-region clusters, dedicated cluster and shared cluster. The difference between shared clusters and dedicated cluster is that in shared cluster, your CPU and other resources are shared among different clusters. But in dedicated cluster, all the servers resources are dedicated to your application. Shared cluster is best for your local development, learning, and small projects. But if you are thinking of moving your application into production, you should opt for dedicated cluster. So click on, I'll just create a cluster in just a few minutes. See, I click on create a cluster. I will be asked to choose my cloud provider and region. As you can see, there here are three main cloud service provider: AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure. Based on which provider you are using, the regions will change. This star here represents that these regions have the highest availability and you should be opting for this. Right now I'll just opt for Mumbai and make sure that you are selecting M0 Sandbox, that is the free tier shared cluster and is free always. It is best for learning purposes and you do, like I said previously, you don't have to use any credit card or any other inputs. Just click on create a cluster. It should take a few minutes. So while it's while my cluster is deploying, I'll just head over to another cluster to show you how to create a dedicated cluster. As you can see, I have right here same options: cloud provider and region, AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure. But the main difference this time is that I have more regions that were not available to me in the shared clusters. And if you want a free tier, it is saying that you have to opt for the regions that is showcased with the free tier available tag. Now you might wonder what this multi-cloud, multi-region and workload isolation tab is. If you click on it, you can use multiple Google Cloud Service provider in multiple regions to deploy your application. Like if I choose my first provider as AWS in Frankfurt, I can add another provider GCP in another region with other. Just a second, I guess my cluster is being deployed. Seems like there's been an issue, guys, so I will head over to another cluster and show you like dedicated clusters. Yeah, so I was discussing multi. It's not here, just a second. Okay, cool. Yeah, as you can see, my cluster is being deployed. 0 of 3 servers complete. I wanted to discuss dedicated cluster, right? So you have two options in dedicated cluster, either for low traffic application or for high traffic application with large data set. In low traffic application, you have two options, either M10 or M20. If you remember, in shared cluster, you had three options: M0 sandbox, that was the free tier and is always free; M2 and M5. In M10, you can change the storage and add other configure your cluster additionally. If you head over to M40, you get uh, more configuration settings that you can change according to your application, like provision IOPS, cluster tiers, scaling, storage scaling, low CPU, general, storage up to 1 terabyte, and etc. If I head over to additional setting, I am seeing an option to choose my MongoDB version, which was not present in shared clusters, right? So I'll just leave it at 4.2. I also have the option to turn on backup, which is best, and you should always have a backup for your application. You never know what kind of bug you may run into. So and from M30 and up, you also have the option to shard your cluster. In this demo, we will not create a dedicated cluster. We will only work with free cluster. So I'll just cross this tab and head over to my free cluster that I deployed a few minutes back. As you can see, it's been deployed and there is no document, right? I have not inserted any data or anything in it, but MongoDB provides an awesome collection of sample data that you can load in it and play with it and learn simultaneously. So I'll just click on load sample data and confirm that I want to load sample data of size about 300 MB. This should take around 5 to 7 minutes, and since we don't have the time to wait, I already have a cluster with this sample data loaded with the name demo with sample data set. If I head over to collection, right, you can see all the different document and collection that this sample data comes with. Seems like there's been an issue, guys. Just a second.
Because your net might be slow, right? We might have to.
Yeah. In the meantime, you can comment whether you installing MongoDB on premises, that is your local machine, or virtual servers, or like me, you are a fan of MongoDB Atlas, and this is just scratching the surface. I have not to any of the awesome features that you can use with MongoDB Atlas. This is just a scratch that I have shown that within 2 minutes I have deployed a cluster and now can use it with my application. And if I head over to network asset, my net is slow. Yeah, right. So that I wanted to discuss that if I head over to network access, I can either choose to access my cluster from anywhere in the world or with a particular IP address, like with my personal setup desktop, or virtual droplet with a MongoDB running in it. Seems like sample data set is nope. I don't think, yeah, right here. I can add a IP address to access my MongoDB Atlas. I can either access it from my personal IP address or from anywhere from the world, that is 000. If I head over to collection finally, this is the sample data set that I was talking about, with so much geospatial and fixed data that you can imagine, and play with it, learn with it, and use it with your application. Rohit will shortly, uh, in a surprise demo, use this sample data set. So keep an eye out for it. That's it from my.
Yep, great, Ashutosh. So, as you guys can see, we can actually spin up a free tier, like always free tier MongoDB Atlas project, like anywhere you want, anytime you want, right? And just keep in mind that you can spin up only one free Atlas cluster per project. So, whenever you need to have two clusters, you might need to just make another project, and you can spin up another tier. And obviously it will be a development based cluster, not a production setup or a, on a high scale setup, right? So go for dedicated clusters from M10 to M700. You can actually customize for any type of load and everything. So guys, great. So heading over to the next thing that we have in today's thing, we are actually welcoming Vinicius M. Gripa. He is the senior support engineer at Percona, and he'll be giving us the talk on MongoDB in cloud and the security around that. So Vinicius, if you are there, you could start.
Yes, can you hear and see me?
Yep. Hi, Vinicius. How are you?
Hello. Hi, all good. How about you guys? Thanks for the invite. It's a pleasure.
Yep. We are good too. So where are you joining from? If you could just give a 2 minutes thing.
Sure. Yeah, I'm from Brazil. For those who does not know me, I'm living in Europe, more specific into Italy, and I'm work for Percona. I think that's you saw in the agenda, as a support engineer, working specific with MongoDB and MySQL. So everything that is related to these two databases and the ecosystem around it, more specific open source. If you have any questions, just tell me.
Yeah. So I guess the people will have questions around it, and they can actually put it in the chat, or maybe you can go ahead and the last of your talk and maybe answer them and together. Right?
Sure. Perfect. So I think we can start. What I'm going to do now is do a small presentation about the theory behind the cloud security and advantages, points of attention. And after that, I'm going to do two demonstrations. I hope it will be quick. One is to measure latency in local databases or when they are physically close to each other. And another one is deploying a Kubernetes, deploying a MongoDB cluster in Kubernetes using operator. So I hope you enjoy it.
Yep.
Okay, let me share my screen.
Yep.
Open system. Just a second, because my computer is asking for authorization.
No issues.
Okay, this was not what I was expecting. I need to close my Google Chrome, otherwise I can't share the screen. Just give me 1 second to share this.
No issues. You could rejoin. No issues. Guys, so till the time Vinicius is coming back, you can actually tell if you like on-prem MongoDB, or if you have worked previously with MongoDB, what's the best part you like about it, or maybe with Atlas, if you have explored anything else in Atlas like Realm, Charts, or anything, like you can just share. Oh, we have Vinicius with us again. Hey.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, so let me share. I'm going to share my entire screen. Can you I hope you can see my phone.
Yep.
Okay, so let's start. Again, welcome. Thanks a lot for the invite, Rohit, and all the MongoDB in Delhi team for doing this event. It's a pleasure. For those who does not know me, as I said, I'm a support engineer. If you have any questions today, I will be happy to answer. If just so we don't mess with the agenda, you can reach me on the social media or email or on the Percona forums. I'm open. Just let me know if you have any questions and I will be glad to answer. A little bit about Percona, for those who does not know Percona or just heard the name. We offer support services and consulting services for MySQL, MongoDB, and Postgres. And just to clarify, we don't work with the offering paid softwares. All of our softwares are open source and with full features enabled. The way that Percona makes money is offering support and consulting. So we do not make money on software. So if you want to test, you can download and use it freely. You don't need even to reach us. I think that's the good thing about open source. Let's start with the presentation, and let's see a few items that we need to consider when moving MongoDB from your local data center or something like that to the cloud. As we know, there are a few options, like on-premises cloud providers, hosted databases. We have Atlas. We have hybrid environments, which means that you can have part of your architecture locally on your data center and part in the cloud. You can have this kind of hybrid environments. So we have a plenty of options to work with MongoDB nowadays. It's a vast universe with different price, performance, and everything. So the problem is that it's up to the DBA or the manager to balance between the costs, security, performance, every single aspect, and find a middle term between everything. So that's the main problem. I know that DBAs will always advocate for high ultra performance, high availability, but this costs money and sometimes the company can't afford it. So we need to find a middle way. So moving to the cloud, the reasons for that, most of them is to mitigate costs, like you don't need to have a storage team, a network team, security team. Everything is handed over to the cloud, even being Google Cloud, AWS, Atlas. You don't need to have dedicated team and dedicated hardware for that. You can have faster deployments, automated backups, and everything. And for some people, it might be interesting to have geographically dispersed nodes. So you can have one node in Americas, one node in Europe, one node in Asia. So, and you can have your cluster globally. And this might be a good reason for that as well. So we are going to talk about the strategy planning, what kind of instance you need to choose, As we saw, for example, Atlas, it has a free tier, but it's not advisable to run your production on free tires, because it's with limited resources. You are not exploring the full potential of MongoDB, and you need to have the right set of CPU and memory for MongoDB work properly. We are going to see migrations and rollback strategies, backups and recovery, and a few options that include security design, what you need to pay attention, because moving to the cloud, if you do not do it properly, implies a great risk for a company in exposing the data. So the strategies to migrate, we are going to see two strategies today. And we have here on the demonstration, we'll use the two scenarios. So let's see what are them, which are them. And the first one is when you are deploying your MongoDB instance to the cloud, which is a kind of hybrid environment at first. What we are going to do is you have your current replica set running, and you are going to add another node in the cloud. And we will let for MongoDB using replica set topology to do the initial sync and synchronize this node that's going to the cloud. So you can, after that, do the RS step down and move everything to the cloud. The advice to do it, you can, on this node that you're still building and you didn't test, you can set it to hidden and with priority equals 0. So if your drive, if your MongoDB drive scans the topology, this node that's on the cloud is not going to be used unless you set it to visible and change the priority. So it's a good way of creating new nodes without impacting your current application. And also it's important because you can check the connectivity and latency as well. And the second strategy, basically it requires downtime. You will shut down your instance, copy the data, the DB path to the new node, or you can take a backup. You can use like Percona hot backup, which is a physical backup, or a Mongodb. So the database is running live and you can grab the data and build the new nodes. And then these nodes does not need to communicate directly. The disadvantage is that if the application is writing to your current replica set, once you do the backup using the tool that you want, you need to take a backup of the OP log and then apply the differential, the incremental backup, otherwise you will lose data. So these are basically the two strategies in place. It's actually simple if we are moving, but we have a few attention points, and that's where most of the problems starts to happen. So what we need to consider when we are migrating any product to the cloud, not only MongoDB, but you need to be aware, because your application, you need to have in mind where your application is located. It does not work if your cluster is spread in the 3 continents and your application is in only one data center, and if this data center goes down, the application goes down and the database is working. So we need to plan carefully everything. So the main 4 points are latency, downtime, depending on the migration that you are executing, security, and finally performance. Being performance and latency kind of related, but latency can be much more problem than anything else. Like if you're migrating with the same resources like CPU, memory, and disk, latency is usually the first problem that arises when going to the cloud. So This happens especially when you are using read or write concern in MongoDB. And a quick explanation, like if you are doing read concern and you have, let's say, 3 nodes in the replica set and your read concern is majority, 2 nodes of the replica set needs to contain exactly, let's say, same data. They need to be on the same time. If not, MongoDB will wait for the majority to acknowledge to provide the reply to the application. The same works for the write concern. You will not receive OK of reinserting the document if your write concern of majority, the document is not written in 2 nodes at least. And if you're using a sharding, remember that you have the config server, and by default, when like chunks are moving or something that you need to write on the config server, it uses a write concern of majority. So if your config server is spread around the globe, you may have latency when doing metadata operations. And as I mentioned, application and configuration string, we need to update and have that in mind as well. Downtime, most of the people, architects neglect it. And that's a problem because if you need to do a rollback, the rollback must fit in your downtime window. Because if you're moving and you need to go back, you need to, let's say, update the hidden, or I don't know, take the dump again, change the configuration string for the application. If you move the application, you need to bring it back. So the downtime needs to consider not only the successful phase, but the rollback phase as well. Another very important thing, it's security. I will show you guys later, but for example, my MongoDB that is running on AWS, I don't remember the IP now, but it's open. So if you guys during the presentation, I can give you the user and the password, you can like easily connect to it, create and drop collections. So that's something that's really important. In the past, MongoDB could be started without authentication and with the port wide open. Nowadays, it's not like this anymore, but still, we need to actively take care of the security. And by that, I always recommend to set your server behind a private network. So the IP, the port of MongoDB is exposed only for those who can really access, developers or the application. And always use authentication, SSL, or certificates, and to manage privileges inside the database, roles. Finally, let's say monitor, it's really important. There are plenty, like Atlas has a built-in monitoring system. For those who have independent ones, you can use extended cloud metrics from AWS. We have PMM, which is open source, and we have a lot of dashboards that you can already use natively. You have Datadog, New Relic, Kakiti, a whole set of monitoring tools. Like whatever you choose, I will advocate, of course, for Percona, but mostly mainly because it's open source. If you don't like it, you just drop it. You don't need to pay anything. But have some monitoring in place. You need to have the monitoring in mind because probably the workload will change and you need to have a baseline of when it was working and what's the problem now. Maybe the CPU started being higher. Maybe the memory that you set, it's a lot and you don't need all of that, so you can save some money and downgrade the instances. It's important for you to have control over cost and over your performance. And this is an example of like when you are monitoring, like the things that I usually pay attention: cache usage, number of transactions, wide tagger activity, You can measure the read, write tickets that are being consumed. So you have a lot of things that you can monitor. What we should never do when we are migrating. And this is one thing that I see most of people doing, because let's say, let's migrate, and now that we're migrating, we will have a downtime. The company says, look, already upgrade the systems, upgrade the operating system, upgrade MongoDB. Let's do everything in a single window. I am not a fan of that. And the reason is, like, many things can break. For example, if you are moving, if I'm not mistaken, from 3.4 to 3.6, on 3.6, logical sessions were introduced, and old drivers prior this version does not recognize it, so they can deplete all the MongoDB sessions, and it takes a while for you to realize it, and this can create problem because the application can't connect anymore, and the solution is upgrading the driver as well. So that's the thing, like, there are many factors that are involved, and if you adjust something in the middle during the migration, it's hard for you to track what is the problem. Like, was the migration itself, or something that I changed, or the application that's not behaving? I pushed the new code. So it's better, like, if you have less things to worry about and you have less things to check when you have a problem. So that's my advice for this. Do not adjust versions, drivers, or MongoDB or operating system parameters when you are migrating something. It will take more time, but you can do it with a more peace of mind and less disruption of the services. So I think I spoke too much. I want to show you guys a demo. The first one that I wanted to show you, it's a demo using AWS and a local server. So just let me log into the server. So here I have a MongoDB running. I hope you guys can see my screen. And what I'm going to do here, it's a quick test. I have a collection here, and what I'm going to do is an aggregate, and I'm just simply counting the number of documents using aggregate. For those who may wonder why I'm doing like this, is because if you use db.collection.count, you're going to use metadata and the statistics, so it's only an estimate number of documents. When you are using aggregate, you are doing a full collection scan, and you are counting the real number of documents in the database. So I want to measure the latency of this operation. My MongoDB driver is connecting locally to my instance. So it took me 2.14 seconds to run connecting locally and retrieving me the number of documents that I have in my collection, 1.7 million. Now I'm going to connect locally again. This first test, I made a mistake for those this is my public IP. It's on my AWS. I'm running 2.4 seconds. If you guys want to connect and you have a MongoDB client, use this IP, connect to this port, and the user password is admin, and you can see the collection there, and you can see what I was talking about, exposing your port to the public, to the world. So if the guy is using a weak password, weak user, they can really easily log in. So connecting to my EC2, it takes me 2.27 seconds to retrieve the data. Now I'm going to run it locally and see how long it takes. as we can see, it took longer, and I have like 100,000 documents more, but that's not what I wanted to highlight. I wanted to highlight it took longer. And the reason I'm doing that, it's because this server, it has slow disks. And it's with CPU being really on a high usage. So that's a question, that's a point where I want you guys to pay attention, is if you need to migrate, the thing is, I did good here because my EC2 has better capacity, but the opposite can happen. So you need to pay attention to these points. The other one that I want to show now, this server is located in North America, and I am located in Brazil at the moment. So I'm going to reach my EC2 instance from my local computer to North America and see how long it takes.
Vinicius, sorry to interrupt you in between. Can you just zoom in on your terminal? Maybe just
yes, sorry.
Bring the font to a bigger font. Yeah.
Put it bigger. Is it better now?
Yep, I guess. Yep, it's pretty much better. Yep.
Okay, sorry guys.
Guys, just for an information, if anyone is having a small window of the window of this share screen, you can just right click on over there. There will be an option to have control options, and when you enable the control options, you can go full screen. So that will be also a better option. Okay, cool, Vinicius. Sorry to interrupt you.
No worries. Thanks for the advice. Anything, just tell me. So this is the test that I did, connecting from Brazil to North America, and as we can see, it took 4 seconds to retrieve the same data. This server here that I was connecting locally, they are in North America, but I don't know which data center, but it's closer. So as we can see, it took almost half of the time. So it's really important to have in mind where your application will be located. Solutions for that. If you're using replica set, you can use tags. So you can have your application together with different replica set nodes. And then using tags like the application that's on North America, you require data from North America, so you can use tags and reach that server in particular. If you're using shards, you can shard by country, or you can split your data accordingly to what is your need. So you can have shards holding data physically closer to the application, which is an option as well. The last measure is changing the read and write concerns to local. So in this way, you avoid the request for more nodes to acknowledge the requisition. So that's another option. This is the first demo that I wanted to show you guys. This is using EC2. Using EC2, you can do the first migration strategy that I mentioned, which is adding the replica set to a running node, and you can do like really transparent. The second one that I want to show you guys, it's using Kubernetes. So I want to show you how quickly, for those who are using Kubernetes, deploying application, and now you can deploy MongoDB on Kubernetes. I'm using cloud platform I created before. So here I have a Kubernetes cluster running. It has 6 nodes, 24 CPUs, 90 gigs of memory. And for those who are running cloud, it's this command. I already run, so I'm not going to run. I'm using the Google tools to deploy it. So I'm deploying in North America 6 nodes, and I'm setting the latest version of Kubernetes and the name of it. So for those who are not familiar, like you use most kubectl, or if you're using OpenShift, it's almost the same. As we can see, we don't have any namespace, anything configured. I'm going to do it quickly. So I'm not going to go dive into details of Kubernetes. I'm just going to show you guys. So basically what I'm doing now, I'm giving permission to my user to create and manipulate my Kubernetes cluster. And I'm deploying a set of things for Kubernetes and the operator. The operator is basically the automated DBA. It's him that's going to monitor my MongoDB cluster. So if I look, I have a MongoDB operator running. And the most important part here, it's what we call the CR YAML. Again, don't worry about it. I don't intend to do a Kubernetes session. But here we have all the information from our replica set in our cluster. I'm going to deploy a replica set with 3 nodes with RS0 name. And let's see. So kubectl apply -f deploy CR YAML. So I deployed, and if I check, my operator is now deploying my cluster. And that's it. Like after that, as you guys could see, like with 3-4 command lines, I can deploy a Kubernetes cluster, a replica set with 3 nodes running. And you can have, with Kubernetes, the Percon operator from MongoDB, you can have automated backups as well. And it's really useful if you need, like, if you can do for production, or if you are working with QA staging environments and you need to give fast deployments to test something, you can do it really fast and quick with the operator. It takes a few seconds to bring. So we already have 1 node running. We are deploying the second. And this way we will have the 3 nodes running. You can expose the node for a public IP, or you can have only for the network of nets. So you have the same level of security that you have for any other like cloud as AWS or Atlas, you can have with Kubernetes. And as I was talking about security, on this topology using operators, you can you have certificates automatically deployed, which is another layer of security that for those, I don't know if you guys already deployed, but if you're using self-signed certificates, it takes a lot of time to create them and test them and do the whole over for applying certificates. So this is done entirely by the operator. You don't need to put your hands on. And as we can see, we have 3 nodes already initializing. And one last thing that I wanted to show you guys, let's wait to stabilize. And because I want to show you guys like, and what happens if I want to extend or reduce the number. So I can go to my CR YAML. Let's say, I need, let's say 5 nodes. I'm not sure if it's going to be deployed 5 nodes. So I was running and I realized that I need more nodes on my replica set. So I can just apply my CR YAML again. And because I set that now I need 5 nodes, my operator is going to deploy a third and a fourth, and a fifth 5 nodes, a 50 node. And if you want to have more information about what your pod is doing, but this is more Kubernetes related, you can easily see. So it deployed successful. It was pulling the image. Now it was because for those who are, Kubernetes is only the orchestrator, the manager, and underneath it's Docker, it's containers. So one of my nodes crashed. We need to, okay, now it's running. It's recovering, and as we could see, because I said that I want 5 nodes, it's already deploying the 4th. The same, if you want to shrink your cluster, you can just come here and say, look, I want 3 again. I don't need 5 anymore. I don't know, Black Friday is gone. I don't need this amount of data, the nodes running, consuming resource. So please reduce my nodes. And the operator is going to do this for you. And it's going to delete all the nodes, all 2 nodes, sorry, not all the nodes. As we can see now, he's terminating the nodes, and that's it. So basically, that's how operators work. You can have more than 1 cluster running. You can have several, as much as your Kubernetes nodes can hold, or Kubernetes cluster can hold. I think it's useful. Amazon has released AKS services as well, which is for Kubernetes, so you can deploy MongoDB over that as well. And you have a plenty of options, as spoken. We saw in the previous session, you have Atlas. What I want to show you guys is alternatives for that as well. All of them, you just need to sit down and test. It's fully open source. There is no cost apart from like spinning a Kubernetes cluster. You can do it locally if you want, but that's it. I think that's what I wanted to show for everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed. That's what I want to talk about Kubernetes, the advantages of it. And if you have questions, again, you can read Percon as well, our forums. It's free to use. You can read me on social media or whatever. And special thanks for everyone, for the organizers, Rohit, who came to me. It was such a pleasure. I hope you guys found it useful. And that's it. I'm open for questions now. And I deliver for Shrey if you want to conduct.
Yeah, Vinicius. So we had a few questions, and I had one for myself. You can go to the Q&A tab on the top, and there were 2 questions. One Shushovan had asked, and you might want to answer that.
Okay, let me read it. I usually use interactive. You can, for the first one, if I can use the same interactive data extraction, you can. In the past, what we used too is like you had a process attached to the OP log. It was known as tailors. They would tail the OP log and get the operations. But MongoDB, the newest versions, they have what we call change streams. And change streams is basically, you can monitor everything that MongoDB is writing, and then you can pull for, like, let's say Kafka or something like that, and you can stream the data in real time to do audit or analysis or benchmark for your application. If you're looking specifically for auditing, you have the audit itself for MongoDB. So if you want real audit, like for compliance reasons, you have the native MongoDB Audit, which is available for Atlas or for enterprise version, or for community version, the only option is Percona. We have the Audit plugin for MongoDB. If you are using only change streams for the application to monitor real-time data, then change streams is available for everything.
Great. Yeah. The next question is from myself only. So when we add profiling to the queries, like we are having how much time did the query take versus like how many documents did it scan and everything, it obviously adds a little bit of overhead, right? So
correct.
Database monitoring tools that Percona has or you are using. So how much latency does it add to the actual queries?
Okay, so as you said, anything that you are monitoring, I mean, it's not, it's part of monitoring world. It's a trade-off between visualizing what's happening with the performance. Most of monitoring tools from AWS, Atlas also has monitoring. What they monitor, or the basic monitoring, it's usually has an impact, I would say, from 1 to 3, 4% of overhead, which is minimal. So you can have most of the metrics because MongoDB already itself is pulling the data with FTDC. So we are getting every second metrics. So the cost is really minimal because MongoDB is already pulling this data. But now, if you're enabling the profiling, as we know, profiling is per database. And if you're profiling everything, like you're using profiling level 2, which is profiling everything with slow MS, let's say 0, you are basically auditing the entire database. So you are putting a lot of overhead for the database. And that's what you need to be aware. I do not advise to set profiling enable level 2 for everything. Just for if the issue is happening, enable the profiling, analyze what is the issue, and after that, disable it. What you can do is enabling the profiling for like long-running transactions with level 1. Let's say you want to monitor queries with 500 that's taking 1 or 2 seconds. That is more okay. But profiling everything, yeah, it's a huge cost. I don't advise it.
Yep. We have another question from Pankaj.
Can we recover data from diagnosed data or journal? If yes, any docs for this? Yes, it is possible to recover. Recover data. The journal you can't access because it's a different. It's not written like as the open log. You cannot do find or anything like that. The journal is used for disaster and recovery. So if MongoDB crashes, White Tiger uses the journal to recover in case some page was badly written or something like that. And diagnostic.data, it's only metrics. So you don't have real queries or collection data there. It's only metrics. So diagnostics.data does not do it.
Yep. Great. So I guess that was a very good session by you, Vinicius. Even I learned a lot of things that we need to take care of when we are deploying on cloud, and going from going from Atlas to Kubernetes. So what else we should keep in mind, and all the performance logs and everything. Right. Great. So
thank you,
Vinicius, for this awesome session and awesome talk. And there were a lot of guys. So cool. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep. So let's go ahead with our today's session. The next session is by Rohit, who has a surprise demo for you guys all, that you can actually build an application in like 10 to 15 minutes and without even doing a single line of code. So I actually hand it over to you, Rohit.
Hey, thanks, Ray. Thanks, Vinicius. That was a great session from you. And people, when we talked about the security and performance, let me tell you, I have almost a decade of experience in various database technologies. And most of us, DBAs or even developers, we put security in almost, we care about security, but make sure that you secure your cluster, you secure your, deployments. Because I'll just give you how disastrous it can be if you don't secure your installation. Like if we talk about GDPR, right? And if you are found violating security there as per GDPR guidelines, and then they have 2 levels of fines, right? So if they are fining you on the level 1, then that would be at least 10 million euros or 2% of your company's global revenue for entire year. So that can even bankrupt you at one point. So please take care of security. And if you guys heard recently, hackers have put several thousand MySQL databases online for sale. So if you are one of the guys interested in, that those kind of data, you can go and purchase the data from hackers. So please, please, please secure your installations. Do not put security on last bench, right? Security is one of the major, it should be one of the major implementation and implement anything. So let me head over to my talk. So I'm going to talk about MongoDB charts, right? So what MongoDB chart is and where do we use that? So I have this atlas open here right now. So I'll discuss about this in a bit later, and then let me discuss about what MongoDB chart is. So the MongoDB chart is a modern data visualization tool that is built into the MongoDB Atlas. We can see it over here, and it's available. The MongoDB Atlas is available on 3 major cloud platforms. That's AWS, Azure, and GCP, and you can integrate chart with your MongoDB cluster, and that's a in-house built-in tool. So you would think that why would we use MongoDB chart as a data visualization tool when we have a lot of other tools out there? So why would you use MongoDB charts specifically? So first of all, you should use MongoDB charts because it understands how to handle complex data model, including deeply nested hierarchies such as embedded objects and arrays within the document data model. And the thing is this, next thing is the work required to build MongoDB chart is really minimal, right? And the MongoDB charts run in isolation. And what does it mean is, let me take you over here. So when you create a cluster, as Ashu showed you how to create a free cluster, when you create a cluster, you see these stars on top of each location. So whenever you create a cluster on any region where you see we have these stars, MongoDB doesn't create one cluster, it creates 3 clusters. So 1 primary and 2 secondary replicas. So if you see Mumbai, there is no star over here. So if you choose Mumbai and you deploy a cluster in Mumbai, it will just create 1 single cluster, right? But if you deploy your cluster within these regions where you have stars, it will deploy 3 clusters, 1 will be primary, 2 will be secondaries. And the MongoDB chart, it's basically analytics visualization tool, right? So it may run long-running queries on your cluster. So what happens, that MongoDB chart uses those secondaries to visualize the data. It doesn't put pressure on your primary cluster. So that's one thing. That's why you would want to use charts instead of any other external visualization tool. And so, right. And then third thing is that you can add separate analytics nodes to your existing cluster to just run your MongoDB chart. So that's another way, reason why you would want to use MongoDB chart instead of some external visualization tool, right? And also, you can embed these charts, which we are going to create some of these here. You can embed these charts to your blogs or your websites or any of your web applications. And you can also share these with external people. So that's one thing about chart. Now, before going to chart, I'll let you know some things which we need to do before starting the chart. So first of all, if you are going to build charts from external data which we don't have on your cluster right now, so you need to add one database user over here. Like I have already added a user because I added some external data to my cluster, to my database, right? So you need to have a user to load some data within your database. Other than that, as Afi already showed you, you need to have the an IP address added here. So this IP address makes sure that the IP address will have access to this cluster here, right? Without adding this IP address here, you can't access this cluster. That's a security feature built into Atlas. Now, these are the two things to loading your data into your cluster. So let me take you over here to my cluster. I'll show you what all data I have over here. Okay, so it's loading. So I showed you, how to load that demo data, which is built into Atlas cluster. Other than that, that is the data which is loaded as a demo data. But this is the data which I added, from this is the external data. Right, so let's now move over to the chart section here. Now, once you come to chart first time, you need to activate it. It will take less than a minute to get activated. Let it be activated. Until it's done, let me tell you, we are going to create 4 or 5 kind of charts here. The first one would be the donut chart, which I will create on this new data, so data which I added. Let it be on.
It does take a minute or two because it's actually provisioning some instances, charts application instances on the background. So the time you need to connect charts, it will take a minute or two. But then once your first time setup is done, you just need to spin up more charts, dashboards, and everything, as Rohit will show.
Meanwhile, once it's until okay, it's done. All right, so here you go. You'll get a dashboard. This is the blank dashboard over here. And let me quickly show you one thing. So when I enable charts here, if you go to Access Manager and check in Organization Access, here it would have added a user. So it's my another user which I had earlier. So a user is automatically added for the chart so that this chart can access the data from the Atlas. All right, so that's one thing which you need to check over here. Let's go back to charts. All right, now in order to populate this chart, we need to add some data source. So this is the data source which added automatically here, which when we enable chart. So let's add a new data source and choose our cluster. Next. It's connecting. So it is just for the first time that it is taking that much of time. Once it's done, it won't take that time at all. All right, so I'm going to use this data over here. It's getting the collection list from here. So basically what you can do is you can either create the data source for entire database or some specific collection. So we'll go ahead and check this collection. Since this is the only collection in our database, it will check. It has already put a checkbox over financial database. Now click on finish. So I have my data source open here. Now let's go back to dashboard. Start creating our first chart over here. Okay, before I create a chart, I have a HTML page. You remember I just said that we can embed these charts to our blogs or websites. So I have one page over here. Let me refresh it. There is a chart over here, right? So I just wrote, these are the headings, sorry. Donut chart, bar stack chart, and histogram chart. So if you come over here, we don't have anything there. We'll just add our chart over here. So let's select circular and donut. Now let's select the data source. This is our data source which we'll have here. So now you see, we have 2 encoding channels here. So what exactly is encoding? Or encoding channels. So these encoding channels are the core components of your chart, right? Using these components, channels, MongoDB data is translated into visualization. So you have two encoding channels. One is a label of type category, and another is arc of type aggregation. So what we are going to do is we are going to build this donut chart, and we will visualize category-wise distribution of expenses. So what I have this data is about some categories. Let me quickly create a duplicate of it, and let me show you the data over here. Okay, we have some. Oh, long time. Let me come to Atlas collections. You see some data over here. So it is the category is home and the amount is there. So this is data is about some expenses based on some categories, right? How much how much we have spent on particular category. There are a lot of categories over here. So let's visualize that. So we'll put. So what we need is we need the expenses on categories. So we will put the category over here, and the expenses, the aggregation should be on amount, right? We want to see how much amount we have spent on a particular category or on all categories. So this is our bar chart. So we have spent almost 140K on home altogether, right? So you can even customize this chart. So I'll go to here on customization. If you want to see what category this is in without mouse hovering onto this category, you can enable data category labels. So it has enabled data category labels. So it will show you, okay, this spend is on your utility. Now you can even see the money, how much money you have spent over here for this category. You can enable that from here. So you don't have to mouse hover on the chart. You can even have it here. But you see, this is just too much of, mixed into each other. So let's do binning. So bin will create the bucket. So how much, sorry, not here. Okay, so we need to, how many categories we need to show over here? We don't need many, we need just 5. So it will show you 5 plus the total, all others. So the 5 categories and rest others. How much have you spent on others category than these 5? So that's how you can create bins, right? And if you think like this label, so it's showing here the category name, this label over here, you can write this category. So this is another customization what you can do over here. It has changed it to category. All right, so that's what you can do. That's how you can basically create a donut chart. Let's give it a name here, donut chart. I'm rushing it, guys, because we don't have that much time left here. I'll just rush it here. So this is a donut chart. Let's go and save it. Okay, that's how I get my chart. Now, if you want to embed this into your blog or website, just come over here, embed chart. First, it will say that you haven't enabled the embedding, right? There are 2 ways to embed. One is unauthenticated, or one is you can authenticate via signatures. You will have to create these signatures, but this is replicated, but you can basically still create signatures. So let's first enable authentication from here. Let's click, let's enable it here. On authenticated one, we will go ahead with, and then open here. Now you need to copy this iframe from here. Just copy the iframe, come back here. Now I'm going to put this chart over here. All right, now let me just refresh it. So here you go. That's how you can embed a chart into your website or wherever you want it to be embedded, right? Let's go ahead and create another chart. Basically, another one, chart over here. So we are going to create another chart, which will be our bar chart. So same, we will use same data source over here. Okay, it's showing me tooltips. Now what we will show here, we will show the total annual spending over the period of 5 years, from 2013 until 2017. All right, so in x-axis, what we will do is we will put the amount, but we need to check the money, what we have spent over here. right? In y-axis, we will put the transaction date, all right? Now you see that we have spent, this is the chart. But thing is this, now you see that this doesn't make much sense, right? Because it is showing multiple values for one single year. So one of the best thing about MongoDB is you can implicitly convert the data type. So here, let's convert the data type of transaction date from a string to date. And then if you put it over here on y-axis, it makes more sense, right? How much have you spent in May 2013 and July? But now what we need this to be for each year. Now it's every month, and we don't need every month, we need for each year. So that's how you can basically create a chart, a bar chart. All right, let's go ahead and put a name as bar chart over here. Save and close. Right. Same way you can embed this one as well. On copy, and it's just almost no efforts at all. All right, now just refresh it here, and you will have both your donut chart and your bar chart. Let's go ahead and quickly create another chart over here, which is bar stack chart. We are going to use same data source. All right. Now what this is, it will, let me quickly show you, convert it to date. Now we are going to use the series over here. All right. Sorry. No. Yeah. Sorry. In bar stack chart, what we are going to do, we are going to show you 5 years of distribution of expenses in top 10 categories. Earlier we saw the expenses in last 5 years, but here we will categorize them based on the categories. So in y-axis, what I'll do is I'll put the category name because I want to see the expenses based on each category. So here it shows expenses for home. These are total expenses, but what we need the expenses for 5 years, not all. So what I'll do is I'll use this series to categorize year-wise. Now, here you go. So that's how you can, so here you see that in August 2013, we spent 3,392 unit of this amount, whatever it is, on the category home. Now you can limit this, you can create bins. We need just 10 categories, not all of them. And then we need it for basically 10 years. This is 10. Now we need year-wise, first of all. All right, so this is year-wise. So these are the 5 years of expenses on home and in 10 categories, right? So you can even either save it like this or you can put it like this. So it makes more sense because here, if you see that some of the categories were just too small to look at, you can do it like this, and it's bar stacked chart. You can save it with this name. I'm not going to embed this because we already saw how to embed others. Now the last chart I'm going to show is we are going to visualize some geospatial data. All right, so I'm going to create another chart on some geospatial data, but that would not be on this data set. I'm going to basically create another data source over here real quick. We will use this data set on zip. So what it will show you the population density at a particular place. All right, so let's choose our data source. Let's choose geospatial and go to heat map. Now let me tell you about this data. Now we have city, then we have population. This population is in each city and which state the city belongs to and the zip code of that location. Now we have longitude and latitude. Let's put those over here in coordinate section, latitude, And intensity, what we need the population based on these locations, right? So let's put population in intensity. All right, here you go. So you can zoom out or zoom in, and this is how it will show you that at this particular location, we have this much of population. Over here, you can see. All right, so let's just save it as population. You can basically use this population or this geospatial chart to probably look for number of schools in a location, or probably the crime rate. If you are going to move to a location, you can basically use it to check how the crime rate of that particular location, right? So that's how you can create charts without a piece of code. And to be true, I think this is the 7th or 8th day I've been starting using the charts. I haven't used it earlier at all. All right, so it's really handy. You don't have to know anything at all, no code, nothing, and you can basically create these charts effortlessly, right? So, guys, this is all from my end. I'm sorry I took 6 minutes more than the deadline. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope the questions were coming. Trey, you can take over now.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Rohit, if you are here for a minute more, I have a single more question for you. If we are creating these charts, would they be auto-updated if we change the data at the back? Like, will they?
Yeah. So what you can do is you can basically go over here and so these are auto-updated, but you can basically update the frequency of the update here. Let me quickly check. Yeah. So this is the refresh frequency over here. You can put to 5 minutes. These will be auto updated every 5 minutes. Same goes here. So these will be auto updated here as well.
Yep. So basically, we can create a whole charts dashboard without using any external tool, only the MongoDB technical stack, without installing anything, and that too fully refreshable, automatically creating those charts, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So that's great. That was an awesome demo, Rohit.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So let's go ahead. That is up with us, and these were the 3 demos and talks we had for you guys. Rohit, if you could stop sharing for a bit.
Sure.
Yep. Let me share my screen. Yep, guys. So thank you. And if you have any other questions or for us or anything, you can pop it in the chat, or you could join our chapter. You can join our Discord discussion groups, and obviously do join the community forums. That is the worldwide MongoDB community forums. So awesome, guys. In a few minutes or maybe a few hours, you'll be getting an email with the feedback form. Please do fill that for us and give us more ideas what we can do in the next meetups. If any one of you is interested in maybe having a talk or a presentation or anything, please reach out to us on our Discord groups or on chapter or anything. And yes, we have swags, and everyone who attended this event will be getting a free swag from MongoDB. And please look out to your emails. You'll be getting an email shortly with the swag details and how it will be delivered and what will be delivered. So I guess you guys had an amazing time today. Thank you all, and please take a screenshot and join the Discord link, community forums, and the Mug chapter. Rohit or Ashutosh, if you could just share the links on the chat once again. Sanchit.
Of course. Thank you everyone for joining us. I hope you have a nice evening.
Thanks, guys. Take care. We'll see you in next event soon, probably in January or February. See you then.
See you. Thank you, guys. Do join our Discord rooms and our chapter on live.mongodb.in. Thanks to Vinicius also. It was a wonderful event and we all had a great time with you.